Hello, in this video I'm going to explain how we can use blend modes in Photoshop to combine images with textures and other photos for all kinds of creative effects. This is my starting image here, and within a few minutes we're able to create a sort of mixed media effect like this. And I've done this using a range of different textures. I've got this texture here and this lovely crack texture and also some crumpled newspaper text here. So I'm going to show you how we can combine all of these. Now, these three images here were downloaded from the website pixabay.com, which is a great source for free downloadable images. If you want to use the same image, you just need to search for image 21799, 2719560 and 671630. And they're all available to download for free. So let's get cracking here. I'll go to my starting image here, and the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my image with a few tonal adjustments. Now I like to do this in the Camera Raw filter, so I can go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and I'm going to lower the saturation of my image here to around about -60. Let's also perhaps just drop the exposure very slightly. And then I'm going to choose a profile here. So I'm going to go down into the profile browser. I'm going to go into the vintage profiles here. And there's a profile down here that I've used called Vintage 7. So I'll double click to apply that. I can increase the amount of that profile if I like. And I'd also like to adjust the temperature and tint. So I'm going to drag both of these across to the right here to give my image this sort of kind of bright, warm look. And with that done, I'll hit OK. So now I'm ready to add in a texture. So I'm going to go to the crack texture here first, and then I can just use the move tool and click and drag it up to my other image here, and then still holding the mouse button down, I can drag in and release to copy the texture over. And you can see I can move it around with the move tool. I can also hit Command or Control and T to transform the layer. And because this is a horizontal texture, I might want to right click it here and choose to rotate it either clockwise or anti-clockwise by 90 degrees. So I'm going to position it neatly over my image here, and then we can start blending it. So I'm going to go to my layers panel here by bringing up Window Layers, and then I'm going to go to the blend mode drop down at the top here where it says normal. And you can see here we've got lots of different blend modes to choose from, and as I hover over them, you can see we get a sort of preview over my image. Sometimes it doesn't quite load up properly, but we can also cycle through these different blend modes using the keyboard shortcut Shift plus and Shift minus. So I'll quickly cycle through them with Shift plus, and you can see how each blends the cracks with my portrait in different ways. So you can see we can create all kinds of interesting effects by blending our two images. Now I quite like the soft light blend mode for this particular texture here, so I'm going to leave it to that, but I don't quite like the way the cracks are sort of covering the face here, so I'm going to add a layer mask to that layer. I'll grab my brush tool from the toolbar over here, and I'll make sure I'm using just a large soft-edged circular brush tip, and I'm using a low opacity for my brush here of 30%. You can hit 3 on your keyboard to set it to 30. And I'm also going to hit D, then hit X to set my foreground color to black, which allows me to hide parts of that layer. So just painting with black over the face while that layer mask thumbnail is highlighted. Then you can see how my brush strokes appear on the layer mask to show me exactly what's being hidden. So I'm going to just brush a little bit more over the face like this. And I like this, but it's still looking slightly strong, so I could also lower the opacity of the layer slightly like this. So I'm happy with that. Let's try another texture. Let's go to this image here, and again I'm going to use the move tool and drag it into my main image. Again, I can transform it with Command or Control and T. I can rotate it and then position it on top like this. And again, I'll choose a blend mode, and this time I'm going to go for soft light again. And if I toggle that layer off and on, again you can see how that's affecting my image. Now we're starting to get this sort of color effect. Now once I've changed the blend mode, I might want to transform again, so I'll hit Command or Control and T again, and I'm going to right click and flip horizontal. because I prefer this sort of red area over this side of the image. If we zoom out a little bit again, and again we toggle it off and on to see how that's looking. Again, we can lower the layer opacity if we like. Now I'm going to add a final texture, so I'll go to this one here of the newspaper, and again use the move tool to click and drag it in, and again change the blend mode. This time I'm going to go for the overlay blend mode, and you can see how that affects the blend. I'll hit Command or Control and T again, and I'll position it. I might want to just resize it slightly, so I'm going to make it slightly larger by dragging outwards like this, and just bring it somewhere around about there. Double click to apply that, and again I can lower the opacity of that layer, and also perhaps just add a layer mask one more time, grab the brush tool and start painting. This time I might try a different brush tip, so I'm going to go into my brush picker here, and I have some brushes down here. I could try these spatter brushes, so I'll grab one of those, and this will just vary how my layer mask looks. I'll just quickly paint over the image with black to hide the text in certain areas of the portrait, and I'm happy with that. Now to finish things off, I can add a tonal effect on top of everything using an adjustment layer. So I'm going to click the Create Adjustment Layer icon and choose Curves. And I think what I'll do is just lower the contrast slightly by dragging a top point downwards there and a bottom point upwards slightly like that. And I'd also like to perhaps just skew the colours. So I'm going to go to the blue channel here, drag the bottom point upwards slightly like this, maybe just drag the top point downwards slightly. And I'll see how that looks if I toggle it off and on, and I'm happy with that. So if we take a quick look back through our layers here, this was our original portrait that we toned using the Camera Raw filter. We added our crack texture, then this sort of blotchy colour texture, then our newspaper text, and finally a tonal effect on top of everything. And that's it.